everyone. This is Stephanie Mann at the Safe Kids Now show, and welcome. Father's Day is this Sunday, and we are so excited to have with us today Pastor Sean Tice. And he says, I used to hate Father's Day. Well, there are a lot of children out there that haven't got fathers. So we're going to talk about how important fathers are in the family. So welcome, Pastor Sean. Thank you for joining me today. So good to see you.
Thanks for having me on. It's great to be here.
Well, tell us, you've been involved with, and I think it's God is My Father. And tell us about how you got started and what motivated you to talk about the importance of fathers, because I know this is probably the most important subject there is, because we have so many fatherless children today. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I grew up without a dad. I won't give a lot of details right now, but just grew up without a dad. Went through that journey, and it was a struggle, facing all those different trials of not having a father. And God brought me through it, though. And so I went to school to be a pastor then, through some mentors. I had a youth pastor that mentored me in different things. And God led me to be a youth pastor. When I was about 15 years old, I went to a youth conference, and I felt led to go to full-time ministry. So I went to Bible college. And then as soon as I went to Bible college, as soon as I went to Bible college, I graduated from Bible college, and I had this burden on me to write a book for fatherless guys. And so I wrote this book for fatherless guys, and it turned into a whole ministry then. I didn't realize what was going to happen. I thought I was going to write the book and be a youth pastor, but it turned into a whole ministry. And that was in 2008. So 14 years ago, we wrote that book, and we've been doing the ministry since then.
That's great. That's great. Well, now, how old were you when you began to feel anxious about not having a father?
Well, for a long time, I had my grandfather. He stepped in when I was about 10 months old. Or actually, when my dad left when I was about 10 months old, my grandfather stepped in. And so I had him for many years. Sometimes I would think about my dad, but I didn't really think about him much. He lived across the country in Las Vegas, Nevada. I was growing up in Pennsylvania, so I didn't think about him a lot. And sometimes it would flare up and things like that, but a lot of times I forgot he even existed. But then my grandfather passed away right before my sixth grade year, and that's when really things started to change for me. I started to really struggle with not having a dad in my life.
Hmm. Well, I think it's alarming. I'm a crime and violence prevention consultant, and I cannot tell you how many children that I have seen that are getting into trouble because they don't have the fathers that they should have in the home. Because years ago, we've had fathers that disciplined kids and were kind of the monitor on the block for children. And now a lot of that has broken down. How are we going to change this?
Well, honestly, I believe it's through God. We have a ministry called God is My Dad. I believe that God can father you, as the Bible talks about that. The Bible says in Psalm 68:5, a father of the fatherless and a judge of the widows is God in his holy habitation. He wants to father them, but we have to tell them about him. I really believe it's through Christian mentors stepping into their life. I was able to overcome becoming a statistic like the ones you're speaking about uh, through these mentors, through God in my life. And I'm able to do these things. It's not by me, but it was through God working in my life and Christian mentors stepping up and helping me. And that's the way I was able to overcome. And that's how anybody can overcome it, through learning these things. You could teach a kid, some of our secular programming, you could teach a kid about how to do good with finances, or how to work a job and things like that. But if you don't teach them about eternal hope, a lot of times there's a lacking situation, and then they end up still committing crime, or they end up still having a failed marriage, and having issues in their life. And so I honestly believe that the eternal hope is really what helps them with the earthly hope.
Absolutely. I interviewed a man by the name of AJ Jelani in Richmond, California, and he happened to be in a neighborhood where he saw that there were dozens of kids and no fathers. So he basically adopted about 25 children and started
Wow.
Christmas on the streets. And he made such a difference for those children in that neighborhood that today they're coming back to thank him for keeping them out of the gangs. So I would like to encourage anybody that thinks or sees someone that doesn't have a father in their life, just to kind of get to know them and get to know the parents so that they trust you, and become a mentor to that child. What would you suggest?
Yeah, I definitely believe that mentoring is very key. I think that is one of the main things. And, it says in James 1:27, pure religion and undefiled before God and the Father is this, to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction and to keep himself unspotted from the world. And the Bible gives us clear instruction on how to help these kids. It says to visit them. If you look at the root of that word, it's talking about to look upon in order to help or to benefit. It's not a one-time thing, just saying, hey, hey, I care about you. You know what I mean? It's actually putting action to it and saying, I'm here for you. I'm going to spend time with you maybe once a month, once a week, every other week, whatever you can do, and really just pouring into their life. I believe that can make a tremendous impact on a kid's life, knowing that he has a caring, loving adult in his life. Every kid is one caring adult away from becoming a success story, honestly. And I heard that from a guy that I learned from named Josh Shipp. He teaches about that, where caring adults can help you become a success story. And I believe that was in my own life as well. I believe that can transform a kid's life. And really the main thing is having God fill their life with understanding, helping them understand that God will be their father and God will father them through the different situations they're in. I look back through my own life story. My dad, when I was about 9 months old, came home in a drunken rage, and he threw my mother and my brother and my sister out of our home. But for some reason, he wanted to keep me, the 9-month-old baby. And he had a past history of abuse. He was an alcoholic, and he used to beat my mom up and stuff like that. And so that night, he kicked my mom, my brother, my sister out. My mom was nervous. They got the cops to show up. The police showed up, and they demanded that my dad hand me over to them. Instead of gently handing me over, he took me and he threw me across the room to the cops. And I look back at that and I think I was helpless in that situation. And there was many times that I was helpless and I was trying to overcome things and trying to overcome difficulties in my life, and God rescued me through those things. So when I say that, it's really my life story, how God has fathered me the whole way through.
You know, Pastor Sean, that is such an important message. Why aren't the churches doing more and with a more united voice and talking about the importance of fathers on a larger scale, talking through the media, because it's critical for these children. I think you sent me some statistics here that really are shocking. They should be shocking to everyone. Around 10 million single mothers in the United States, around 7 million grandparents are raising grandchildren. You know, when I started working as a crime and violence prevention consultant, there were only 3 million grandparents raising children. Now it's up to 7. We're moving in the wrong direction. It's not very good. And here is 30 million fatherless children, teenagers, and young adults. So my question is, I'm so happy that you're talking about this particular topic. How do we get more pastors to talk about this? Because it's a critical message.
And that's what we've been trying to do. I mean, honestly, it's the sad thing is it was swept under the rug for so many years in churches, where they don't want to talk about the issue of divorce. They don't want to talk about these things that are going on. And so you end up with these women that are kind of just floundering around, and churches didn't know how to handle the situation. And I'm thankful I had a church that was able to help us. But it's sadly, it's one of those things in churches they just don't really want to talk about. We actually just recently did a 3-year Hope for Fatherless America national tour from the beginning of 2019 till the end of 2021. We were on the road and we traveled around speaking on fatherlessness. We were probably in over 180 churches speaking on the issue of fatherlessness, spreading awareness about the issue. It's one of the main things we do. And one of the main things that happened was single moms would come up to us and they would say, nobody cares about my family, or I don't feel connected to the church. Or they would sometimes they did feel connected, or they would just be excited that we would talk about the topic. And this happened quite often. Or one of the things they would tell us is nobody will spend time with my kids. And so we would help change that. That's what we would go into churches and we'd speak about. We would help churches understand, hey, this is a big issue. And we would connect it to the story of the Good Samaritan, how these kids have been robbed, they've been wounded, they've been abandoned, and left to die in some circumstances. And you as a Good Samaritan can go and help them in their situation. And so I honestly believe the messaging in the church needs to change. I believe there are a lot of churches out there that are changing that message and they want to help. And we've seen that. And it's an exciting thing. We actually at lifeactors.org for Father's Day, we have a resource for churches for Father's Day coming up how to minister to the fatherless on Father's Day. 8 simple steps. You can go to our Father's Day page and download that guide, and that's a resource just to help them. So as we're trying to break this, at godismydad.com, we have resources for Father's Day there. Just simple ways that you can start as a church doing more for the fatherless and helping them as they face these issues.
Okay, what is your website so that anybody that's listening can go and get the guidelines?
Yeah, we have 2 different websites. We have lifefactors.org. Our ministry is Life Factors Fatherless Ministries. That's our main ministry. That lifefactors.org is a website for people that are helping the fatherless. Churches, for Christians who want to get involved in helping them. We have guides. We have every month is covered. We have every month you can have ideas on how to minister to single moms and their kids. So that's for churches and those individuals. GodIsMyDad.com. For years we would try to figure out a way to be positive about this issue because it's such a negative issue. And so we created God Is My Dad in 2017 as a resource for fatherless families, as a brand to help fatherless families be able to relate. And so we've had a tremendous response from God Is My Dad because people are excited about it. So GodIsMyDad.com is a website, has different sections for fatherless individuals, for grandparents raising grandkids, for single moms. There's videos, there's an online community, there are live trainings they can sign up for. There's a free devotional on there. They can go to our store and find our different resources. So godismydad.com. And there's also a mobile app, God Is My Dad, on the Apple and Google Play Store as well.
Good. All right. Well, everybody take down that information. And I'm going to ask Pastor Sean when we come back. We're going to take a short break. I'm going to ask him about how do we change this? And I think it's going to be the church that makes the changes. So I'm very excited about the work you're doing. So we'll talk about that more when we come back in just 1 minute.
If I lift up my heart to you, if I open my mouth to give you the glory, it would be hallelujah. We sing hallelujah, hallelujah. We lift our hands to give you glory.
You're listening to All About Us Radio. We're live streaming 24/7, playing old school versus new school. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at AAU Media, and visit our website www.aaumedia.com. Call us at 1-833-369-1444, extension 1, and leave us an inspirational message or request. You're listening to All About Us Radio.
Okay, we're back, and I am speaking with Pastor Sean Tice, and he's very much involved in creating a more cohesive network of support for children, especially getting those fathers, support for fathers in case they don't have fathers, the mentors that need to be there for children. So, COVID, Pastor, has taken a terrible toll on our children because it has isolated kids even more today than it was before COVID. So how are we going to turn this around? Because this is huge. A lot of people are still wearing masks. They're still feeling intimidated about getting out in public. So what are you thinking about in order to change this?
I honestly believe it's about building relationships is one of the main things. We have digital resources, like I said, we have godismydad.com and all these digital things. But I think one of the main things is, and those are important things, we have a YouTube channel, all that stuff. But one of the main things is building relationships. I think the isolation really hurt a lot of relationships. Kids were isolated, like you said, and I'm working with a teenager right now. He's told me recently, he said, I was going to reject you as soon as we were going to meet, but I'm mentoring him. He's 18 years old. He said, I don't trust anybody. I don't want to be with anybody. But him and I literally have been meeting we've probably been meeting for the last 9 weeks straight, one day a week. And the thing is, we're building a relationship. We're building a friendship. And every week we have a devotional called The Fatherless Journey for Guys. And we try to go through one of the one of the sessions every week has 30 different sessions in it, and is talking about different things. But the thing that I've noticed with him is he didn't really want to build a relationship, but he now that we're doing it, he wants to be involved. He wants to have that relationship, because it's so lacking these days. Where kids, they've been rejected by their dads a lot of times, or their dad has passed away, so they may be bitter at God or bitter at people, or their dad's incarcerated, so they're bitter at the people that they think may have caused that, or they're bitter at their dad. I mean, there's so many things that they have, that pent up anger or confusion that they have. And I believe if building a relationship with them and teaching them about God can really change their life.
Absolutely. We do have an area here where people can ask questions. And so if you have a question, please write it out for the pastor. And we have a message from Rebecca Kimball, and she says, "I love your message. God bless you." So I think your message is critically important too, because we have too many fatherless children. And one of the things that I've been working on for many years is getting the churches to reach out around each church and create a neighborhood around the church, which makes the church safer, and it makes the residents safer. And also it brings in people into the congregation. So it is a wonderful way to bring people together if people start working together in the neighborhoods and bringing people together, because COVID has taken a terrible toll on our social isolation. So what would you say about that, Pastor?
I completely agree. We started a single mom group in Las Vegas. We're launching a God is My Dad Las Vegas chapter. We started in January, and it's our first like it, of its kind, first chapter like it. And basically what we're doing is setting up a lighthouse in Las Vegas, saying, hey, we're here for you. We're a national ministry. We're trying these local chapters out. And what we do is we work with local churches, work with organizations, try to provide resources to single moms, letting them know there's churches that care about them and help them. And so we're taking this model, we're going to go across the country with it. But as we pilot it, one of the things we've seen in Las Vegas is we started this single mom group, first of its kind like it. And it's been an incredible thing to see how these single moms, they just want community. They told us, they're like, hey, I was looking for something like this, or I was about to look for something like this, or I was praying for something like this, or about to pray for something like this. And there's just different responses, but the community has been amazing. And some of the ladies are from the church that we're working with for the first one of its kind. Some of them already attend there, but they were looking for a group because they didn't feel like they fit in the singles group. They didn't feel like they fit in the couples group. And then a lot of them come from outside the church, from different places from outside the church, and they came in and they're getting plugged into the church from that. And so it's been amazing to see the community there, because people are looking for that community. People are tired of being isolated after COVID.
Absolutely. It's been taken a terrible toll on families because they've been stuck with each other, and we really need to have that outreach. One of our questions has to do, let me see, it says, when speaking with incarcerated youth, what do you find is most challenging?
Well, I've spoken in youth detention centers. I spoke in one in Athens, Georgia, and it was kind of eerie going in and hearing the locked door behind you, and you can't get out. One of those things. But these kids, a lot of times I believe they just get involved in a gang, which could just be a group of friends, or they make mistakes. The thing is, with youth, the boys, they face inferiority. When they feel inferior to other guys that have dads and do things with dads. A lot of times they face anger. They have this anger, this pent up anger, because they don't have a dad to teach them how to overcome their anger, how to handle this testosterone that they have inside them, this aggression, and so how to channel that. And so then a lot of times they'll go and commit crime. They don't know how to respect a lady, so they'll commit a crime that way, or they'll go and steal something, or they'll vandalize something, trying to act out, because they don't have a dad there to teach them how to respect themselves, how to respect a lady, how to respect society. And so they end up committing these things. And so I spoke to this group of fatherless guys in this youth detention center, and they just want somebody to care about them. They want to know that they have value, that they have worth. And I think they just really, the struggle with them is that they feel like they're worthless. A lot of times when they're growing up fatherless, dads provide that worth to them, and they feel like they're worthless. And then girls, even not incarcerated, but 71% of pregnant teenage girls come from fatherless homes. Girls struggle with a lack of security when they don't have a dad in their life. And whenever they don't have that security from a dad that teaches them, hey, you're my little princess. Hey, you're beautiful. Hey, I love you. They look for that in a boy or from a man, and then they end up a lot of times pregnant and they face these issues. So I think it's very common, regardless of whether they're incarcerated or not, or they're pregnant or not. I think they're very common situations of what they face. Some of them just get caught, or some of them just get, they end up having to face some of the consequences of things that they did. But a lot of the problems are the same for every single type of home. And honestly, it doesn't really matter what kind of economic background they're from, or what side of the train tracks they're from, you know what I mean, or what color, whether they're white, black, Asian, whatever it might be. There's a study that says a white teenage girl from an advantaged background is 5 times more likely to become a teen mother if she grows up in a single mother household than if she grows up in a household with both biological parents, because she didn't have that dad's love and affection in her life.
That sends such a strong message about the importance of family. Male, female family, because I know in my own home, my father and mother got divorced when I was 10, but he was a very strong role model for me before he was out. And he had a whole different way of treating his daughters and his son than he did. He just treated us, for example, I remember my mother was very protective of me. My father would let me experiment by steering the car or driving the tractor when I was 8 years old. My mother would have had a fit. So there was this difference in how men and women work with kids. So I saw that very strongly. My father did abuse my brother, which was the problem with his drinking problem. So families are so important. So how do we get out of this? I think, I'm hearing that Americans are drinking more alcohol than they've ever drank before. So I'm not sure how we're going to get out of the need for alcohol. What do you think needs to happen?
Well, like I said, I think relying on something else. Really, alcohol is just a coping method.
Right.
Sex is a coping method. Drugs are a coping method. And my dad, he was a statistic. His own dad died when he was 13 years old, and he went down the path of a drugs and alcohol addiction. He robbed a store when he was 17. He was homeless for a while. He was actually heavily involved in the adult film industry in Las Vegas. He was in films himself. He worked in film theaters. The first time I met him, I was 15 years old. It was in an adult film shop in ghetto of Las Vegas. And so he tried to cope through drugs, alcohol, sex, all these things, experimented with so many things, and nothing ever brought him happiness. And so I think the thing is, and I worked corporate for 15 plus years, and I saw as I worked, Fortune 500 companies and stuff like that, that everybody would live for the weekend. Everybody was coping through the weekend. They
Right.
would Thursday night, they start drinking, they go Friday night, Saturday, and then Monday they hate their life, and that's kind of that's what most of the coworkers, not most of them, but a lot of the coworkers I work with, that was how they coped through life. And because they were trying to overcome that, the emptiness that they had. And so just to give you an example, my dad's brother, he was 10 years old whenever their dad died. And my dad's brother, he ended up finding hope through God. He ended up finding hope through Jesus Christ and walking with him. He ended up going to Bible college and going to Liberty University, Liberty Baptist College back in the day. And then he went back to Las Vegas, Nevada, and started a church 45 years ago. And he coped through God, and he was able to find hope through God. And so he started a church, runs a big church out in Las Vegas now. And you should see the difference. The reason why I tell that story is because you see the difference. And when you get a Christmas card from them, you see their whole family, all these kids, all these in-laws, all these grandkids, and it's this beautiful family. But then I think of my dad, his 3-year-old brother, my uncle's 3-year-old brother, my dad, and his picture was himself. All he had was him. And he ended up dying a couple of years ago by himself in a hospital because he chose that path. He coped through that. So honestly, there's no hope in alcohol. There's no hope in drugs. There's no hope in sex. None of that stuff will bring you happiness, except the only thing that will bring happiness in life is a relationship with God and walking with him and talking to him and reading his word. And that's what I'm trying to live. That's what I'm trying to go by.
Well, that's a wonderful message. And I think it is so critical for all of us to know that there is this wonderful power that anybody can tap into. Ask and ye will receive, right? And God is there for everyone. So anyway, do you have any last thoughts that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I just want everybody to know that we're here for you. We are honestly, we've given our lives, my whole family, we've given our lives to reach fatherless families. That's our my passion right now is to lead as many families to the Heavenly Father as I possibly can. And I believe that I live that. That's what I do every day. We're full time with this ministry, and so if you want to jump on board, you want to. If you're a church, you want to bring us in to speak about it, or you want to become a God is my dad church. If you want to partner with us as a missionary, or if you're a donor, you can donate to our website, lifefactors.org. We'd love to have your help with that, or help you as you mentor. And if you're a fatherless family, if you're a single mom or a grandparent raising grandkids, we have resources for you. And also reach out to us if you have ideas of things that you want to add. We have a ton of content. If there's things you're like, hey, I wish this was here, let us know. We'll do our best to create things and help in your time of need, the things that you're facing. This is our calling. This is what God's called us to do. And we just want to be a help and an assistance to fatherless families, to single moms, to grandparents raising grandkids. But just definitely connect with us at godismydad.com or at lifefactors.org. If you're a church, you want to get plugged into our email list, or a Christian that wants to get involved to help these families, text the number 66866, the word dad, and you can get opted into our email list. Text dad to 66866, and we'll stay in touch with you. Okay. Thank you so much.
Well, I've put that down. 66866. Text,
The word,
right?
yeah, the word dad. Text the word dad to that number.
Okay. All right. Now, where are you in Las Vegas?
We're in Las Vegas. We're in North Las Vegas is where we're living right now. But we are actually trying to start the single mom groups all over the city, working with churches all over the city. So,
Well, I happen to be in Las Vegas.
oh, you
So
are?
I
Oh,
am. And I'm in
great.
Henderson. And
Okay.
so I'm going to keep in touch with you because I do have some ideas to share. And I'd love to talk to you more about it.
Sounds great.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And I just love what you're doing. I think it is so critical at this particular time. And we will look forward to talking to you at another time. So thank you so much for joining us, Pastor Sean Tees.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, that was so inspiring to me because he is in my area, and I'm going to pursue this a little bit more because I have some ideas to share and he has some ideas to share, and we'll see what we can come up with. So next week, we have a wonderful guest by the name of Tara Ferrara, and we're going to talk about how dogs are saving children. So join us next week, same time, on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock Pacific time, and we'll look forward to talking to you then. Thank you for joining us.
Throw and Tuck. It's handmade by myself, and you only can get it here, and it's patent, and it's only here at Rococo Design. It's like a regular pillow, or you can take the blanket out like so, fluff up the pillow, open up your blanket, wrap it around yourself, and then you can lay on your sofa and relax with your pillow, throw and tuck. When you're done with it, just flip it over. When you don't want the blanket anymore, you just fold it over twice. Fold it over twice again. Fold it over. And tuck it in the back. And there you go. You're back to the pillow, throw, and tuck. Rococo Design.